Guys, Fireman Dan here. Welcome back to another episode of Space Engineers. In this episode, I am going to go through a tutorial on how to make and use automatic LCDs 2. This script is made by Master. And if you don't know how to use scripts, the first thing you need to do is find whatever you want in the workshop, in this case, automatic LCDs 2, and hit this little button right here that says subscribe. From there, everything else is done in-game, and you can also access the workshop in-game by opening up your Steam overlay, aka Shift Tab. And in case you guys don't know, automatic LCDs come with a guide, which is right here. Just click it. And these are all the various command lists, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll go through some of the important ones or at least that I think is important. And it's one thing to mention that make sure you favorite it by hitting this right here, because with all these commands, I've been using this for a while, and I sometimes come back to it for a reference. With that being said, let's get into the game, and let's get started. Alright, so here we are in game. Now, in order for your scripts to work, you need to have experimental mode turned on. And in order to do that, come down here to Options, Game, and this little box right here. Make sure it's checked, and then just hit OK. From there, you need to activate scripts in the world you're using. And there's two ways you can do that. The first one is you can start a new game. Choose whichever scenario you want. Under Advanced, scroll down to right here, this little box. In-game scripts, make sure it's checked, and push OK. The other way is hit Load Game, whichever save you want it, whichever world, save, whatever. Edit Settings, Advanced, and in-game scripts. Make sure it's checked. Alright. Now let's go ahead and get into the world, and I will see you there. Alright guys, welcome to the little tutorial world. Alright, so, whenever you first get into the game, right, and you want to use a script, you got to build a programmable block. And once you build that programmable block, you come up and access it, hit Edit, browse scripts, and choose whatever script you want. In this case, automatic LCDs. Oops, wrong button. Copy to editor, check code. Okay. And that's all you got to do. From there, it's just a matter of setting up the script to how it works. Like, what are the instructions to it? And number one, that's what I'm going to go through for automatic LCDs in this little video. And two, that's where your guides come into place, if there is a guide. Some of the scripts, they're simple enough to use. They just put them right on the workshop page. But to access the guides, open up your Steam overlay, Shift Tab, right, and this comes up. And right here in this little box, see where it says Guides? Depending on how many you have favorited, it could either be right here, or hit View All Guides. Here's your favorites, right? It can be right the first three right here, or View All. And for me, I have to go to page 2, and there it is. There's the guides for automatic LCDs. Alright, so let's get started. Now, any kind of LCD screen in the game, whether it be these, or it could be this right here, the screen on programmable block, it could be the screen on, I don't know what else we got screens on. Anything with an LCD screen on it. It could be the button panels and fancy button panels displays. In order for this script to read it, in the name, you got to put LCDs and bracket, right? So bracket, LCD, bracket. And let's go over to here. And just to show you what I'm talking about. So open this up. See this right here? Bracket, LCD, bracket. And when you do that, you know you did it right because bracket, LCD, bracket, this comes up. Write command to custom data of this particular, or this panel. So, depending on whatever you want to display, and that's the commands right here, under the guides, open the screen up, custom data, and write what you want. Now, let's go through some of these commands to show you what's what. First off, this screen here, there's nothing behind it, because this is just the general overview of, how would I say, just miscellaneous commands. Alright, the first two are power time. This will display how much power you have available on your base, your overall power time. And there's several ways you can do this. So the first one I got power time, right? That's just in general. As you see, this right here. The very top line. Power time equals 107 days. The second one, you notice there's a progress bar right here, right? And the reason that's a progress bar is this right here. This augment. This is basically saying I want 1 hour of power, right? And then there's just progress bar. Obviously, it's 100% because there's 107 days of power. So let's change this here. Let's take this to 200. Well, it should change. Oh wait, that's 200 hours. Hang on. Let me pull up a calculator here. So 200 days times 24 is 4,800. Alright, let's change that to 4,800. There we go. So by putting in 4,800, I'm asking for 200 days of power in the progress bar. But I only have 107 days available. So I got 53% of my total power output. That's what that's for. And to show you where this comes, let's pull up the command here and let's go to power time? Power time. It's command power time, right? So it doesn't work with hydrogen engines, right? So it displays the estimated time after which power will be depleted. And there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can use power time X to show a simple variant with only the percentage bar, with only percentage and no progress bar. Power time P, percentage and progress bars without exact time. And power time bar to show only progress bar with no text, right? So depends on how you want it to display. And now down in the augment, right, the augment was this right here. You know how I got this little star here and then the amount of hours. No augments displays the power time of the ship without any progress bar. First augment filters block name based on name or group. In this case, power time G batteries, which I'll show you that in a minute. Second augment is hours. Third augment will be minutes. Fourth augment would be seconds. Minutes and seconds is kind of useless if you ask me. That's why I usually go for hours. And the minutes and seconds would only be for this progress bar only. So, alright. Next up is stop distance, stop time. So, I know I covered this in my must-have script video. But stop distance is basically if you were flying along in that direction towards the sun, and you without your inertial dampeners on, and you turn on your inertial dampeners, the distance you will travel before you come to a complete stop is this right here, stop distance. And what this is good for is to keep you from crashing into things. So any good space engineers person, any experienced person in space engineers knows not to fly directly at the object you want to intersect with. Because if you judge it wrong, you could crash into whatever it is you're flying towards and wreck your ship. And that's just not space engineers, that's a lot of video games. This helps you prevent that. Though I still wouldn't fly directly at an object, but you know, it's there. Stop time is the same thing as stop distance, but instead of it being in, say, meters or how far you're going to travel, is how long it will take you to stop. And just to show you these commands, it's basically stop distance, right? And stop time. And, oh, before I continue, echo, that's just like a space bar. Because you notice these two are together, and then there's a space, and then a stop distance. Echo is right here. Now to show you the commands in here, let me find them here. I think they're toward the bottom. Yep, stop distance and stop time. Here they go. So stop distance, stop time. Next up, this right here, ground, NA. That's basically your altitude, how high you are off this, whatever's below you. And this is on the ground, so that's why it says NAN, okay? But it's important to note that this is from the programmable block, not the bottom of your ship. So this right here, which we'll come back to this, if I were to put that in here, it would be how far this programmable block is from the ground, not how far this landing gear is from the ground. So just keep that in mind whenever you're flying along. So you may think, okay, I got 10 meters, I'm good. And here, smack, you just hit the ground. And that command is altitude. And continuing on, command line, altitude. There it is. Altitude. It's placed altitude of the ship above the ground, and then you also got altitude C, which is above sea level, which I don't know why you would want to do that, but okay, it's there. Lastly, it's this: no damage blocks found. All that is damage, and that is useful because if you're in a, say, some kind of combat ship, and you go into battle, you can see if blocks get damaged. And this command, this here, does not register regular iron or regular metal blocks, right? Armor block. It's only working blocks, so programmable blocks, reactors, thrusters, weapons, things of that nature. Alright, next up is batteries. Now the reason I like these battery script, or not battery script, the battery command compared to power time. So, one battery A may have 3 hours of power left, right? And that would be reflected in here, 3 hours of power. The battery B and C may have, I don't know, a minute worth of power left. And that's a bad thing because if you build a ship, say that miner, that requires all 3 batteries to run, and you're flying along, thinking, hey, I got 3 hours worth of power left. Well, in reality, you don't, because once these 2 batteries die in 10 minutes, you're no longer going to be able to fully power your ship, and you're basically going to crash into the ground because you're not going to be able to power all your thrusters. So that's where this comes into play. This shows you the charge level of your batteries. And depending on how you set it up, it can be 1 battery, it can be all batteries, or it can be a total percentage of a group. Right? So, power stored. That is everything. Right, so let's scroll up. Power stored. Power stored displays the power charge or stored power of a battery. It's the same thing as the other ones. You got power stored X, power stored P, power stored V, depending on how you want it displayed. Augments. No augments displays all batteries. First augment filters blocks based on name. Second augment is overwrites a title. Alright, and I'll show you that. So, right here, custom data. Power stored is all batteries. So, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I don't know why there's a gap in there, but there is, because there should not be. Because power stored echo. There should not be a gap. And just to show you that, let me go ahead and take this out. Oops. Well, it should be showing 3 batteries, but it's not. That's all batteries. Come back. There we go. Up next is power stored. This is group for batteries, right? Group colon batteries, and what I'm talking about is batteries. If I turn this on, I got all 3 batteries in the group. That is your overall, your average of all your batteries. And it's at 100% because, well, they're all charged. The one below it is the same exact thing, but I put the second augment in here and I renamed it station batteries, right? So station batteries. These two, so like I said, these two display the same exact value, but the second one, I put that second augment in and I put station batteries in there, so it just has a different text. Now down here, these ones is the same thing. You can filter based on block name, battery 2, and you can rename them, right? Because the second augment. So all 4 of these are the same thing. So batteries and battery 1 are the same value. Batteries and battery 2 are the same value. So why is this useful is, as you see, both of these has batteries and batteries. Well, you don't know which one they are. And depending on how you want to view your power situation, you may want to know which ones are which. And that would be up to personal preference. But that's where the second augment comes in. So you can see battery 1 and battery 2. Right? This is battery 1, this is battery 2. Let's show you again, it's the same thing. Power stored, battery 2. So I filtered on the block I want, this is specific battery. Same thing, battery 2 is up here, but I just renamed it. And that was under the command power stored. Alright, up next are your jump drives. Now, jump drives can be very useful because, as everybody knows, depending on the power stored in your jump drive, depends on how far you can jump. Now, let's go to, which is it? Trying to think. I think it was not power store. It's inventory. It's power. Nope. Power store. Power summary. Power time. No, hang on. Charge. That's it. Charge the jump drives. Displays jump drive charge with progress bars for every jump drive matching name or group filter. You can use charge X to display only percentage without actual value, or you can use charge bars to show you only progress bars with no text. It just depends on how you put it in there, shows what it shows. Augments. No augments, nothing will be displayed. First augment filters jump drives based on name or group. So charge my jump drives, right? Charge jump drive 1. So custom data, charge. These are the jump drives. As you see, jump drive 1, jump drive 2, and jump drive 3. 1, 2, and 3. Space, charge, jump drive 1. So all I want to see is the first jump drive. Jump drive 1. Right? And now, back in here, charge, jump drives group. This is the group of the jump drives. Now I did this specific intentionally, jump drive 1 and jump drive 2. The reason I did it that way is, if you turn this on, you see there's only 2 jump drives in the group. And that is what's displaying, jump drive 1 and jump drive 2. The next command is charge time. This just displays the estimated time remaining to charge jump drives with progress bars for every jump drive matching the name or group filter. Note, this is just an estimated time by the script, so that may not be exactly correct, and it's possible that it would jump up and down. Augments, nothing will be displayed. First augment jump drive based on filter name or group. Same exact thing as this, so as you see, charge time jump drive 1, charge time jump drive group. So it's the same exact thing, but instead of it being charge it's charge time. And instead of it just displaying how charged it is, it displays on how long it will take to get charged. And just to show that off here, let's grab a jump drive here. Let's see, jump drive, well, 4 now. It's only 2%. And this is how long it will take. Estimated 6 minutes and 9 seconds charge time. 8 minutes and 13 seconds. Let's see how long it will take here. Fully recharge in 7 minutes. And it's, so it says 6 minutes. 7:56. So it's, as you see, it's estimated. So it's not perfect. But that's showing jump drives. And I guess I don't have to explain why that could be useful. Or at least I hope not anyways. Up next are your air vents and oxygen tanks. So this command right here, oxygen, displays various different things. Oxygen. Displays pressure of specified air vents, average output of oxygen farms, and average fullness of oxygen tanks. No augments. All air vents, oxygen farmed, and oxygen tanks. First augments, filters based on block name. So, oxygen. We got air vent, and there should be 2 oxygen tanks, but it's only displaying 1. Up next is filtering based on block name. It's oxygen tank and air vent 2, right? So oxygen tanks. So this is an oxygen tank number 1 and air vent number 2, and that should be this one right here. That shows the pressure of it. So this outside air is at a maximum air pressure is right. So what is that? About 80%, 90%. And I'll explain that in a little more detail here in a second. And then lastly, oxygen group, and that's oxygen tank stuff, right? And just to show you this, oxygen tank stuff, both oxygen tanks. And it's at 50% because both tankers at 50% capacity. So average 50% capacity, which, you know, it matches. If one was 100% full, let's go ahead and change that. Throw that on there. And while that, see, it's going up because the one tank is getting filled. There's 35%. So this here should only display, should display both tanks. Tank 1 and Tank 2, but if for whatever reason it's doing the same thing as the group. And that was at 75% as well because I just so happened to put it on tank number 2. If I put this, take this and put this on, what was it? That was tank number 1, so this should be tank number 2. Oxygen tank, right? Data, oxygen tank, 2. Oh, duh. I'm looking at the wrong one. This is the first command for all 3. Both tanks should be displayed here, but as you see, there's a gap. And this is oxygen tank. That's full, right? There we go. Just about. Ignore that, that's not working properly. So, air vent number 2. As you notice, it says leaking. And what that means is, wherever that air vent is, it is not pressurized. And that's kind of obvious because I'm standing in a platform in the middle of a planet. But what this is good for is, if you have a space station or a ship or a combat ship or something, and you take damage and it breaches your hull, you can basically have this command on an LCD screen in your combat information display and on your bridge, something, wherever you want to put it. And you can basically say, okay, I just got into a fight, the enemy's dead, and you look over and bam, leaking. Oh crap, I got a breach in my hull. And then you can go find it. You don't have to go and find it and repair it. The second thing this command is good for is if you're making an airlock. Let's say you make a hangar bay, right? And you have a pretty decent sized hangar because you're going to get your ship and stuff in it, and you don't want to open a door in outer space because you're going to vent all that oxygen out into space. In a creative world, it don't matter, but in survival world, it does, because now you're just wasting oxygen, you're just wasting ice. So you set up a depressurization loop in your hangar, which that's a totally different tutorial, which I can actually do that eventually. But you can have the script running and say, call this hangar air event, right? And have it say have a small display. So right, so let's say right here you got a button panel to depressurize your hangar. You push it, and above it, on this little screen here, you got this command right here. And as your hangar depressurizes, you can watch that bar go down, 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 and as soon as it hits 0%, you know your hangar is depressurized, and you can go ahead and open your doors. That's what this is very good for. So it's good for showing damage or breach in your hull, or it's good for airlocks and such. Alright, moving on. Up next, and it's funny because you see oxygen here, oxygen here. This command, oh, and that one right there is oxygen. The next command is tanks. The command tanks shows the fullness of tanks and hydrogen engines when Keyland supports for it, of specified types and liters and percentage with progress bars. And you need to specify the tanks like hydrogen or oxygen. And if there's also modded tanks, say shits and giggles, somebody adds helium to the game, it can show that as well. So why do I like this one? Well, you use one command for both tanks. So instead of using this right here, oxygen command, I use the oxygen command for my air events only. And then over here, I use the command tanks for oxygen and hydrogen. And this works the same way as your oxygen, but just to tanks, right? So tanks hydrogen and tanks oxygen. Remember, you got to specify what kind of tank you want. So hydrogen tank and oxygen tank. So my hydrogen tanks are at 50% total capacity because I put them on there and I didn't do anything, so 50% total capacity. And the oxygen is at 75% total capacity because remember, you just watched me do it. This one is filled and this one is not. So your oxygen tank is at 75% total capacity. So this is good for keeping a track on things in your station, or if you got a hydrogen ship that powered off of hydrogen, you can monitor your hydrogen with it if you like. And down here at the bottom, there's the same thing, groups, right? So you can filter out to all groups, or you can filter out specific tank individually. And once again, remember you got to put in hydrogen or oxygen. In this case, they're both hydrogen for it to work. So let's just show you, if I take this out right here, watch this. See, missing tank type. Throw that back in. There you go. So that displays your hydrogen tank and your oxygen tanks. The oxygen command displays oxygen tanks and air vents. I would just use oxygen for air vents, and I would use tanks for tanks. That way you don't get confused. Alright, up next, and I pretty much saved this for last because the inventory command can get a little confusing. Alright, so let's go all the way up here to the top. Inventory. Displays inventory summary for certain types of items. It automatically adds 0 item lines for vanilla game items. Script will automatically display even modded items if they are in the inventories, but it will not report missing modded items. If you do not want to display missing items, which I'll show you this in a second, use inventory X, which I'll show you that in a second, instead of inventory. It's good for displaying contents of a specific container. This command line has default quota for vanilla items. You can go through and add quotas if you want. I never do that. Down here, it's the same as everything else, depending if you want progress bars or numbers or whatever, depends on how you type it in. You can read through that on your own time. Augments, no augments. Displays all items on a current shipper station. First augments filters block based on name. So container 1, container 2, cargo container 1, cargo container 2, right? Next augments specifically included or excluded item types and can overwrite default quotas. I'm not going into quotas. So what this means is you can add ores in and then remove all the ores just to show iron, right? So operator plus or minus adds or removes items from display, plus all adds all item types to display, and then say minus all will remove ores from display. You must add something for the negative to work, and we'll show that in a second. Use main types and specifications, so ores, ingots, components, ammo, tools, oxygen for oxygen containers. Currently only oxygen bottles. Ore subtypes, both ores and ingots, right? So iron, gold, nickel, platinum, blah 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 blah. Ore, ice, ingot, scrap. And then you got your components. And then you got your tools, so your welders and grinders and such of that nature. You got your ammo. You got your oxygen for oxygen bottle, and you got your gas for hydrogen bottles. Or both. So ingot slash iron, so only iron ingots. Ingot slash uranium, only processed uranium. Or it would be ore instead of ingots. You can combine items like this, plus ingots slash iron, and then gold, add iron and gold ingots. Slash ingots, components, adds ingots and components. Plus steel plates, construction, adds steel plates and construction components. These are quota barred, I'm not going into that. And here's some examples for you. So, how does all this work? Come in here, I'm gonna grab this inventory. Up first, it's straight inventory command. This shows everything vanilla, and it shows you what you have or may not have. And I got a couple things in here just for my example. So I got like 1 cobalt. And these second ones here, those are your quotas, and you can change those if you want, but I never do. Components, yada 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 yada. Your gas or oxygen bottles, hydrogen bottles, ammos, tools. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention that the script automatically scrolls stuff if you have too much information to display. You don't have to do anything about it. Datapad, medkits, all that good stuff. And now it's going the other way up. Alright. Now remember that X. Inventory X. Hang on. There we go. I don't know, that was weird. So all those zeros, right, it takes away anything that is not in here. So as an ore, they got 1 cobalt. As ingots, they got 1 cobalt. And as components, you got 1 display components. Up next, this command right here, inventory, you got your augment, right, which displays that cargo container, and then plus components. So I want to show components. Oops. So this is all components in that specific cargo container, which is this one right here. We got 1 display in here. So where should be construction metal grid. Oh, there it is, display. See, 1 display. Now same thing. Inventory X. Give it a second. For the script to do its saying. Come on, there you go. Component summary, display 1. Let's take that out. Now, if I take out this plus components, it should show the entire list for that specific cargo container. See, ores, ingots, and then, well, it'll be tools and components and everything. That's where this comes into play, plus or minus something, right? So plus all, minus or, and you just have to go through and mix and match everything how you want it. And give you a brief example of that. Custom inventory, right? Plus all, minus components, minus ingots, minus tool, minus ammo, minus oxygen. If you notice, ore is not and it is minus, so this should show me ore. Right, so I don't know why the hydrogen bottle and stuff aren't on there, but okay. Oh, I think this got to be part of your ore. What did I put in? Tools, ammo, oxygen. I don't feel like going through here and finding it. But if I didn't want to show this hydrogen bottle, the data pad, medikit, I'd have to go through this list, find the command for it, and take it out. Right? So we got oxygen, we got tools, so I'd have to go through and find those, take them out. But it's important to note that I use inventory instead of inventory bracket specific cargo container. So therefore, this would be for all the ore that I have for my entire, well, station. If I put an X in there, it would get rid of all of these zeros, right? Inventory X. And out of all that, which was ore, I have 1 cobalt ore. And I'll show you why that's useful here in a second. Well, before we go to the next one, I'll go ahead and show that to you now. So what is this useful for? Why would I want inventory X plus all minus components, ingots, tools, and ammo, and oxygen? Well, that's where this comes into play. If you notice, I have 3.1 thousand ore. And if I pull this up, 3.11 thousand iron ore. This is good for a miner, and as you see, and by the way, I did not build this, it's just a disclaimer. So if you're out mining, right, and you want to know what you have on board, how much, well, in this case, iron, by using this command on that little screen, it will show you what you have on board. Okay, that's what that is useful for. And every single monitor that I personally use or I built has that on there. That way I know what I have. Lastly is these right here, cargo. Yeah, cargo, right? Cargo all, which is right here. Displays to use cargo space of specified cargo containers, or in general. So, take this out, type in cargo. Cargo use, 6.5 liters out of 46.9 kiloliters. So this shows you how full your cargo containers are for your base. You know, if you're getting, if your cargo is filling up. In this case, let's go back to the miner. This little screen down here, it's hard to see it because of this location, but this little screen down here, cargo use 0 out of 16.9. And that's what it uses, cargo. So same exact excuse, but A, for your base, so you know how much room you got left, or if you got to expand your cargo hold. Or B, really important, for your miner, so you know how much space you have when mining, when you got to go back to base to drop off your stuff. And same thing as the other line, as the inventory, cargo, bracket, cargo 1, bracket, or squiggly bracket, whatever the hell those are called. That filters specific cargo containers, and then cargo all displays everything, right? Here, let me go ahead and show you this. Notice these numbers different. 46.9, 57.4. But this right here is still the same, 6.5, 6.5. The reason for that is cargo displays cargo containers only, and cargo all displays anything on your ship that holds cargo. So the oxygen tanks and hydrogen tanks, which you can throw bottles in to refill. I don't have refineries on here, but you have the space inside the refineries, space inside the assemblers. Cargo all displays all of that. Even the drills. So like on that miner ship, I probably would have used cargo all instead of cargo, because as you know, these drills have internal space, so you get a little bit more ore out of them. So that's the cargo all. One last thing I got to show you, and sorry, I know this video is getting a little bit long, is this script works for LCD screens inside of cockpits. Now, there was a long-standing bug where some scripts did not display on cockpit screens in dedicated multiplayer servers. So you would have to mount screens outside your cockpit. However, a friend of mine was just on my private server on our Let's Play series we were doing, and we were playing around with this, and it was working. So it could be fixed. It could be just this specific script is now will write on LCD screens. So just take that with a grain of salt. So if you build your ship for a dedicated multiplayer server, you may want to consider going ahead and mounting exterior LCD screens, kind of like this right here, these miners. But if you're going to be doing it on a little private world like this I'm on right now, then you can probably just go ahead and put them down here. Now how this works is same as your LCD screen. You got to put the LCD in the name, and you write in the custom data. So at 0, at 1, at 2, auto LCD, right? There's the number, this line right here has to be per screen. And the number, it depends on what screen you want, right? So it'll be like at 0, at 1, at 2. And the way you find that out is if you come into the cockpit here, these right here are the LCD panels, these are your screens, right? So this top center will be 0, left screen will be 1, right screen will be 2, kneeboard will be 3. Okay? So at 0, so at whichever screen, space, auto LCD, and then whatever you want. So all those commands that I just went through, or the ones that are in the guide that I did not go through, you put these right here. Right? And then immediately after it, you go to your next screen, your next screen. Now, another thing that's important to note is, you see how easy you can read these? I had to go through and up the font size, right? That's 1.0. Look how hard that is to read. So you can increase or decrease the font size depending on your personal preference. Alright, so thank you for joining me for this episode of Space Engineers. It took a little longer than I expected. I apologize about that. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. And if you like this video, go ahead and leave a like. Fireman Dan, I will see you next time.